Thank you all so much for being here. We welcome you to your capital. You know there's a lot of construction going on. I don't know how many of you know what all that's about. How many of you know what year Mississippi became a state? One guy. 1817, Mississippi became a state. So in 2017, 2 years from now, will be our bicentennial. And we are getting ready to celebrate. And because of that, we want to get the Capitol looking good. We want to get it spruced up. There's some things going on with the Capitol that are in need of repair, and we are working to get those things fixed so that when 2017 rolls around, we'll have a big celebration, hence the construction. And so I appreciate your understanding. I may have told you that the room upstairs that we normally meet in had some water damage during some of the construction. The Senate chamber was damaged. Physically. It's always been damaged politically and mentally, but it was damaged physically. So we're in the process of fixing that. I would much more enjoy talking to you about Baylor football. As you know, I'm a Baylor graduate. They normally say that in my introduction, but they omitted that this year. Baylor did very well. I enjoyed watching them play up until the last 17 seconds of their season. It was a lot of fun. A lot of people ask me, why did you go to Baylor to play football? Why didn't you go to Mississippi State? Well, I wanted to. I looked for an opportunity to go there. Emory Ballard was the coach back then. And I saw him a few years later, and I said, Coach Ballard, I've always been curious to know why Mississippi State never offered me a scholarship. He said, well, we took a look at you, and we decided you weren't any good. So, thank you. I appreciate that. I want to talk to you very briefly today. I don't even know how much time I have to talk. How much time do I have to talk? Whatever I want. Good deal. I want to just kind of recap a little bit what we've done over the last 3 years. As you know, I was very fortunate to be elected as a speaker 3 years ago when Republicans took over the House for the first time. Since that time, we set out on a course to fix a lot of things. And I think we've done a good job over the last 3 years, and I want to kind of recap that. There are a lot of things I think are positioning Mississippi to prosper economically, and I know that's what this organization is about. I think we have been able to put our state in a good position right now that we are ready to take off, and a lot of economic prosperity is going to occur. One of the first things that we attacked was the budget. The budget was in a bad situation. We were spending more money than we had. We were dependent upon bonding and debt. We were spending one-time money. Which was used to plug budget holes, and those dollars may or may not be there the next year, and so then you had to go and find a reason or a way to fill those holes. And we decided that was the first thing we were going to address. We need to wean ourselves off the dependency of one-time money or non-recurring dollars that don't come back every year. When we took over in fiscal year 2011, our budget, 10% of our budget was based upon non-recurring funds. $637 million was being used to plug holes in our budget. We said that's inexcusable. We need to fix that. So in our first year, we dropped that to $617 million. The next year, we dropped it to $518 million. The next year, $245 million. And this year, beginning with the fiscal year 2015 budget, we're proud to say that we're not using any non-recurring dollars to pay recurring expenditures. That has the fiscal house in order. That is a great thing to position ourselves for economic prosperity. We've passed a number of measures to stimulate business, to stimulate growth, starting with the inventory tax credit. We have passed a sales tax exemption for power and fuel for industrial purposes. We passed a historic property income tax credit. That's one I was particularly interested in. That, as you know, Mississippi relies heavily upon our historic, many towns rely upon historic buildings, historic features, the history of their towns. This is a tax credit that says if you go in and you renovate a historic building, you get a tax credit. We've calculated that it has cost us in revenue of about $60 million, but it has generated over $200 million of investment over a 3-year period of time. As you can see, that's a great return on our money. We cost ourselves $60 million, but we got $200 million on the backside. And these are projects that help towns develop old buildings, create tourism opportunities, create uses of old buildings, and generates a lot of income. We passed the Motion Picture Incentive Act. We have exempted finance charges from sales taxes. We've authorized credit for costs to relocate national headquarters, a tax credit for that. This is Representative Jeff Smith. He's chairman of my Ways and Means Committee. He is the one who's headed up all of these tax credits. He's done an outstanding job, fantastic job. We've created incentives for companies who move to Mississippi and say, if you come here and you create more than a certain number of jobs, I think it's 20, and you move your national headquarters here, we're going to give you a tax credit for doing that. We've also passed exemptions for sale taxes on firearms. We call it the Second Amendment weekend. Ammunition and hunting supplies. We have done a tax holiday weekend for school clothes and that sort of thing. So these are all things that we've done that help stimulate jobs and businesses in Mississippi. We've done all of that, and we've still been able to put aside money in the bank. When we took over in fiscal year 2011, we only had $191 million in reserves. Today, we have $409 million in reserves. And actually, with fiscal year 2015 coming, or 16 coming, we're going to have even more than that in reserves because of the way we've been able to be conservative with our spending, live within our means, and reduce our dependency on one-time money. We've also made an effort to get away from bonding as much as possible and pay for those expenditures that are recurring. We have, first year in 2013, we put $49 million into renovation and repairs of buildings as opposed to bonding it. We're paying for it, so we're getting ourselves out of debt. We're weaning ourselves out of debt. Last year, we increased that, almost double that amount, to $88 million. So we're moving toward a day when we're going to be able to pay for repairs and renovations, hopefully out of our pocketbook, rather than having to incur debt to do that. On the education front, we passed a teacher pay raise. We believe this is very important to make our state prosperous. We have got to retain good teachers in this state, and I probably mentioned this to you last year when you were here. But this is a measure whereby we have given a pay raise to our teachers over the next 2.5 years to give them a reason to stay in the state, not go elsewhere, keep our best and our brightest here, and teach our children. We have increased funding for education, $170 million over the last 3 years. This is the most that's been put into education since 2008. It's a 7% increase in funding. This was done at a time when other agencies were receiving cuts or they were receiving flat appropriations. So we have made education a priority. We passed House Bill 585, which is an attempt to cut down on the cost of incarceration. We're trying to make sure that those who need to be incarcerated are, and those who don't need to be are not. And it helps cut down on the costs of incarceration and generates more funds that can be used elsewhere. We've implemented performance-based budgeting. This is an idea that Greg Snowden, sitting over here, my pro tem, came up with. This is an idea that rewards agencies based upon performance, not just spending. We're changing our mindset from what are we buying to what are we accomplishing. We want to measure, are we actually getting a return on our dollars? Are we actually accomplishing something with this program? And if we're not, we need to shut the program down or redirect those dollars. This is something that we've implemented this year for the first time in our 2016 budget, House and Senate working together to implement a performance-based budgeting. That is exactly the way you run your business. And that's what we got to do here at the Capitol. We've got to change our mindset from just spending dollars, from just throwing dollars at an idea, to measuring the outcome, measuring the results, and making sure that we're getting return on those dollars. We also appropriated last year $32 million to bridges, and in 2015 we have an additional $52 million to address deficient bridges and roads. So these are just some of the, one other thing. We've reduced the number of permanent positions of state employees by 1,300 people. So we're trying to be efficient in what we're doing. We're trying to maximize our tax dollars, making sure that you get a good return on your investment. When we take your tax dollars, we're making sure that you get a good return on that investment, and we're making sure that we are being very frugal with those tax dollars, spending them wisely, living within our means, not spending more than we take in. I know there are many others who want to speak today. These are just some of the highlights that I wanted to recap with you. I hope you understand the good government that has taken place over the last 3 years. That's the main thing. That's the reason I read off this list of accomplishments. I want you to understand and appreciate and feel the weight of the fact that those people who are leading our state right now are doing a good job. They are putting us on the road to prosperity so that your job, your business can prosper and that Mississippians can prosper as well. Thank you so much for being here today. Appreciate your time.